All right. Well, shall we turn to the Democrats and what's going on with them? So you guys will probably remember there was a significant race for a leadership fight in the House between AOC, who wanted to be ranking member on the Oversight Committee, which basically it's a very public-facing role. It was a good fit for her because she understands the media. She's feisty. She does well in these committee hearings, et cetera. So she would be in this prominent forward-facing role in the Democratic Party. Nancy Pelosi intervened and instead got her man, Gerry Connolly, to across the finish line to be ranking member of this committee. Now, it was known at the time that Gerry Connolly he's in his 70s, and he also is suffering from cancer. And apparently that, the cancer prognosis has just recently gotten worse. So he is now saying he's stepping away from that role as ranking member of Oversight that he had just won over AOC. Let's put this up on the screen. This is his official statement. Gerry Connolly, by the way, I've met him before a number of times. He represents a Northern Virginia suburban like Fairfax County district in Virginia and has for a while. He used to be the head of the Board of Supervisors in Fairfax County, so a long time public official. Anyway, he says, "Dear friends, I want to begin by thanking you for your good wishes and compassion as I continue to tackle my diagnosis. Your outpouring of love and support has given me strength in my fights, both against cancer and our collective defense of democracy. When I announced my diagnosis 6 months ago, I promised transparency. After grueling treatments, we've learned the cancer, which was initially beaten back, has now returned. I'll do everything possible to continue to represent you and thank you for your grace. The sun is setting on my time in public service. This will be my last term in Congress. I will be stepping back as ranking member of the Oversight Committee soon. With no rancor and a full heart, I move into this final chapter full of pride in what we've accomplished together over 30 years. My loving family and staff sustain me. My extended family, you all have been a joy to serve, your friend and public servant." And, I don't want to be an asshole here. Like I said, I met Gerry Connolly, interpersonally, very nice person. But if you truly believe yourself to be, which I do, in this existential threat for the future of the country and democracy, you need to put your most effective players forward. And it was always very clear that that would not be Gerry Connolly at 70 years old and battling cancer. It would be someone like AOC, who is leading the fight and is out there, touring the country alongside Bernie Sanders and garnering record-breaking crowds and understands new media, et cetera. And so here we are 4 months into the Trump administration, and he's already having to step back, Emily, from this role whatsoever. In terms of who's going to be the replacement, it's not going to be AOC. She is no longer actually on this committee. She, I guess, got switched or moved committees or whatever. Can put Ken Klippenstein, who's been all over this from the very beginning, put information.
To say the very least about Ken's coverage of Gerry Connolly.
I tried to book Ken for us today, but he's like traveling right now and it's just like killing him because he's been all over this from the beginning. But anyway, put this next piece up on the screen. This is who looks to be set to replace him. Another 70-year-old, Representative Stephen Lynch. Ken goes on to say his background is colorful. Lynch was apparently arrested at some point for drunkenly attacking a group of Iranian students protesting U.S. intervention abroad. There are some other members on this committee who could have been interesting. Ro Khanna is on this committee. Jasmine Crockett is also on this committee. So you don't have to go with another 70-year-old, but yet here they are, just like, this is the guy who's next in line, seniority or leadership can rely on them or whatever. And it's absolutely incredible. I mean, Democrats have had multiple members die in office this session, which have led Republicans to, expand their margins by a little bit. And that little bit can make all the difference in terms of, getting close legislation through the House.
I'm sorry, but there's no committee that Democrats should have wanted a very aware and healthy person on more than Oversight for the first 100 days of the second Trump administration. I am furious on behalf of Democratic voters, just thinking back on how insane it was. This is a concession that everyone who was concerned about Connolly getting this position was correct. This is him basically throwing in the towel and saying, I'm not up to the job. Well, if you had had the humility and your supporters had the humility to say that 100 days ago, the Oversight Committee could have been much more robustly, energetically pushing back on the Trump administration. It is just completely, it's, all of this is obvious what we're saying right now, but it is such a just obnoxious example of how wrong the old guard is, and how stubborn the old guard is, and how stuck in their ways the old guard is, and just how not up to the moment they are. It's just the sort of arrogance of the political class, just being, I think, to some extent here, put on full display, and again, predictable and obvious, but the Oversight Committee is doing exactly what it says. Like they have powers to call witnesses. Like when Republicans were in the minority recently under Biden, the Oversight Committee is where they felt they were doing their most important work, and is because you can then call hearings and do Hunter Biden and Benghazi and all of those things come out of Oversight. It's very powerful if you use it correctly.
Yeah. And I remember when he won this or was going for this position at the time, wish I could remember the exact language that he used, but he said something like I've waited a long time for this. It was a very I did my time. I'm next in line. So I'm getting this seat. And Nancy Pelosi made sure that he had the votes to be able to. And again, we all knew this was the reality. They knew this was the reality. This was utterly predictable. And so not only was it really, self-serving for Gerry Connolly even to put himself up for this position, it was extraordinarily short-sighted and weak move from Democratic leadership to push him for this spot, and just speaks to a lack of seriousness and a lack of meeting the moment that has been characteristic across the board from the official Democratic leadership. And boy, do I have another example of that. Senator Schumer, who of course, capitulated to the Republicans, the one thing where Democrats in the Senate really had some leverage, he completely, hands Republicans major victory there. Well, now he's on CNN saying that, don't worry, he's in the fight. He has sent the Trump administration a strongly worded letter, Emily. So he will await their response. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
But it's also going to hurt the kind of medical research and other kinds of great research that is done at Harvard and other universities. So we sent him a very strong letter just the other day, asking 8 very strong questions about why this isn't just a pretext.
Well, you'll let us know if you get a response to that letter. I do want to.
I love how
not 7 strongly worded questions, 8 strongly worded questions.
Very
not
strong.
6.
Very strong questions.
8.
And I love how Dana's like, okay, you let me know when they get back to you on that one. Sure, buddy. It's just, you can't make it up. It's so pathetic. It is so utterly pathetic.
It's insane that he was on live television and thought that was a good thing to say. Are you listening to yourself? You know that you were stepping straight into a joke, buddy. This is the minority leader. This is the head of Senate Democrats for how many years? And he can't even get through an interview without saying something as stupid as that. I mean, come on, man.
I miss Harry Reid. That's what I got to say about that. I miss Harry Reid.
Harry Reid would never. He would never.
No, he would never. Meanwhile, you've got, they're just the leadership. They are just thrashing around, trying to figure out where to be, what to say. They've recognized at this point that the base wants them to do more. So, their response is things like Senator Schumer sending 8 strong questions in a strongly worded letter. And then Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker did some sort of a live stream hangout on the Capitol steps, which everything, it's just a little off. I will say that the Cory Booker speech, it really didn't do it for me, because of a variety of, it wasn't really about anything. And, it felt to me very performative, although impressive. Listen, to hold your bladder that long is extraordinary. If in fact that's true, just to speak for that long, I can't even imagine. But I have to say, liberals ate that shit up. They loved it. They absolutely loved it. They see him as a hero. And this shows you, the bar is not that high. They just want people to do something, even if that something is just standing and talking for a while.
Right, because that's a great point, because that filibuster didn't have any legislative goal. Literally, they just were lapping up Cory Booker, demonstrating how passionately he was anti-Trump and anti this administration. And it was actually smart because he was like live on TikTok and breaking records. And it as I think vapid as it was, it just rallied the troops because people are desperate.
Yeah, that's right. But in any case, Hakeem Jeffries, Cory Booker do this hangout live stream thing on the Capitol steps. Let me give you just a little taste of this, Emily, just a little taste.
And I want you all to know I miss Obama. I miss Obama. I miss Obama. I miss Obama, and I miss her husband too. We'll be pushing back against the Republican efforts to jam this far-right extreme budget down the throats of the American people. And we wanted to make sure that heading into that fight, we were very clear with our Republican colleagues. There will not be a single Democratic vote to take away the health care of the American people. Not a single.
Don't worry, Emily. The spirit of Barack Obama is alive and well in the fake-ass speech cadence of people like Pete Buttigieg and Cory Booker. So never fear. It just feels so try-hard.
Yes,
it just feels very like, we're going to be cool. We're going to do a thing. Here we are doing a thing. I don't know. It just lands weird.
And Hakeem Jeffries his staff has clearly made a concerted effort in the last couple of weeks to make sure that he does media mostly out of a suit. So like now they're putting him in a baseball cap and t-shirts and his like sneakers. It's just so like, I'm casual, every man, like I'm just, your friend. It's very, to your point, try hard. When it's so sudden, it looks just cringe. And it's, again, we talked about this recently, but it's so strange for me because this used to be even like younger Republicans, how they came across. And I'm not saying Republicans are like hip and spry either, because they're not, but it used to not be like this for Democrats. Like it used to be a lot easier for them, especially in the Obama era, to come across as normal human beings. But they're overthinking it so much because they're so thrown off by like the youth shift and working class Hispanic voters, some changes in the Black electorate. So it's just hard for them to figure out what they should do, and they haven't landed on anything. So it ends up looking really awkward. And there's no sign of that, there's no sign of the light being at the end of that tunnel at all.
And some of them, they're just, so many of them are just like old and kind of lost at sea in the world of like the new social media. Like they feel like I should be doing a thing, but I don't really know what that thing is. And so much of this too is like, just stop trying to be something you're not. Like Hakeem Jeffries, you're never going to be a firebrand. You're never going to be that like super relatable, cool guy. That's just not who you are. I mean, look, to go back to the Canada block, Mark Carney is like the ultimate technocrat. And he just leans into it. And people are like, okay, that's who he is. Bernie Sanders, like he's not out there trying to do a thing. He just is himself. That's it. That's like, stop trying so hard. On the other hand, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Chuck Schumer's strategy, just basically like wait around and let the Republicans hang themselves, is kind of panning out. Not only have we covered extensively Trump's numbers at 100 days, obviously they're really bad across the board. Even his best issue of immigration, he's now underwater, especially when you ask about specifics, foreign policy, but most importantly, his economic numbers have fallen off a cliff. And predictably, that is having a major impact on the down ballot races. I think Republicans just basically expect to lose the House at this point. It's almost like a foregone conclusion, given that we're nowhere near out of the woods with regard to the economic pain either. Harry Enton just did a piece on the unpopularity of the Republican Party and how it may translate to midterm losses. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
Democrats versus Republicans. We have 3 polls out within the last few weeks. What do they all show? They all show the Democrats up by 2 points in the CNBC poll. The Fox News poll that was out on Friday, look at that. Democrats up by 7. The New York Times poll that was out this Friday as well, but Democrats by 3. And keep in mind, the House GOP won the popular vote back in 2024 by a little less than 3 percentage points. So when you see 3, 7, 2, averaging 4, that is a tremendous shift. That is a shift of 7 points from the November 2024 elections away from the GOP. You look at Trump's net favorable rating. In October of 2024, according to the New York Times, it was minus 9 points. Look at where it is now, minus 30 points among independents. That's horrific. That's historically awful. Take a look at the generic ballot. In October of 2024, the Democrats were ahead, but only by 3, well within the margin of error. Look at where they are now, up 17 points. There is no way on God's green earth that the Republicans can hold on to the House of Representatives if they lose independence by 17 percentage points. My goodness gracious.
What do you think about that,
I mean, like this is despite Democrats' best efforts, I think. And that's part of this is interesting too. Did you see Alyssa Slotkin dropping like F-bombs recently? Did you see the stories about that?
I did not see that.
Yeah, The Hill had a whole story yesterday about how Dems are like embracing the F word.
Cursing?
And
oh my gosh.
I feel like that happens every time a political party gets a little bit desperate. But you know, it reminded me of the Hakeem Jeffries, Cory Booker, like just sitting on the steps, chatting with people moment, because it's like, you guys, what's working right now is Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going to red states and fighting oligarchy rallies, not Alyssa Slotkin, thinking that she's like a cool mom for dropping F-bombs in an interview, like forcing herself to drop an F-bomb in an interview. Like, it's just so bizarre. But I think the reason they're doing it, Krystal, is because they, like Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker, can't go full quote fight oligarchy. This is their, and that's, by the way, what's good for the party. What's good for them would be to embrace this anti-oligarch message. But because they're also bankrolled by oligarchs, they're uncomfortable with that messaging. And that's why Alyssa Slotkin is now explicitly pushing back against it. And I think it's why Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker, maybe they clear the very low bar of, looking like they have at least some energy and aren't, full Connolly. But at the same time, I think what Trump is struggling with is coming without actually a decent resistance from the Democratic Party. And so that goes to show, like, what could this be like? I mean, again, like, Donald Trump has barely won a couple of elections. This man came off being the host of Celebrity Apprentice. Like, Hillary Clinton was terrible. Joe Biden was terrible. Kamala Harris was terrible. That's how bad Dems have been. It's not any, I think, special testament to Donald Trump being super attractive and likable. I think he's a smart politician with his base. But it's not like the entire country loves Donald Trump, despite what he may say. It's just that consistently Dems have been worse than Trump, except for Biden in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. So in 10 years, they have not figured out a way to be slightly better than Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, your point about Slotkin and Jeffries and Booker too is really well taken. And I've never seen anything more manufactured than the pushing Alyssa Slotkin on us. Like, no one wanted this. The Democratic leadership, for some reason, was like, this lady, she's the real future of the party. We're going to have her do the response to the State of the Union. We're going to have her lead our effort to, tamp down all this anti-oligarchy talk that's getting a little too popular among our normie Democrat base. But to your point, I think the things that have really landed with the liberal base has been, number one, the Stop Oligarchy Tour, the Fight Oligarchy Tour. Number two, people like Jasmine Crockett, who just can dish it out and really it just has this vibe and this energy of she's not going to take any shit and she's going to get out there and get in your face, whatever. Cory Booker's speech, whether I like it or not. I mean, listen, he did a thing. Okay. People liberals loved it. The other thing is the Chris Van Hollen going to El Salvador, which, to me is a study in contrast between Cory Booker's thing, which was actually basically about nothing, about him positioning himself as a resistance fighter. Whereas Chris Van Hollen, he actually did a thing. He went, it was a real issue. It was some personal risk to himself. It's a risky political issue. And obviously Bukele did all he could to make the optics as terrible as possible, et cetera. And, I think his actions really kept that story alive and has helped to move public opinion dramatically against the Trump administration, not only specifically in that case, but that's what helped to drag them underwater on immigration in general. So, and since then you've seen some other representatives and senators follow suit and going to visit people who are detained because they, published an op-ed or had some, pro-Palestine speech or whatever. You saw other members also travel down to El Salvador. So that really set a model for Democrats moving forward, who actually wanted to do something and not just sit on the steps of the Capitol and talk about how much they miss Barack Obama.
Well, Okay, so I think with the base, it makes sense to me that would be sort of that all of that would be a shot in the arm. I still think the Van Hollen and what was I think the Van Hollen example in particular is like, I don't think they quite nailed the messaging for a broader audience, but I think he understood that what the Democratic Party's base, like the grassroots type people want right now, is someone to like actually take personal risk and sacrifice.
I really disagree with that. And I think it shows up in the polling. I mean, when we were looking yesterday at the best and the worst issues for Trump, his best issue, and this was the New York Times Siena polling, which is, considered to be one of the more credible pollsters, and they do a large sample, et cetera. Best polling numbers were on immigration, though he was still underwater by 4. Worst polling numbers was the handling of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So I think, the numbers I've seen are like 20% support what the Trump administration is doing there. So I do believe that the efforts of Chris Van Hollen and others to shine a light on that and to consistently explain, this isn't really about this one guy and however you may feel about him. This is about due process for all of us. This is about protecting all of our rights and your right to have your day in court before being sent for life to this, foreign gulag. I think it's undeniable at this point that messaging has landed and that it has dramatically turned people against the Trump administration's handling in that one specific case, with bleed over into how they feel about the immigration program writ large.
I think people definitely agree with that sentiment. I don't disagree that that's where the public has landed on it. I think for me, it's an interesting case study at how Dems can misread or not misread, that's the wrong word, how they can overread the public's position. Like it's easy to say, and actually I think Trump does this sometimes too. It's easy to say, okay, the public is with us. This is a winning issue. We can't be sending people to CCOT on mistakes that your own administration's attorneys, your own DOJ attorneys admit, and like sucking up to Bukele and doing that weird stuff. Like nobody is like here for that. I think what Van Hollen did then looked like, or the Trump administration was able to message it in a way that probably resonated with a lot of people as Dems actively trying to keep people who are not in the country legally in the country, even though it's not what the case is about. I think it's easy to get, we probably just disagree on it. I just think it's easy to get caught in that trap of like not sticking on the narrow issue, but then also looking like you're in the position that most people disagree with because you kind of misread where people are on the narrow issue in and of itself. But we probably just disagree on that.
I mean, I do just disagree with the assessment there. And I think at this point, the polling bears it out pretty clearly that, because the Trump administration had admitted fault in this case, it made it fairly clear cut of like, you screwed up, bring the guy back. Like, what are you doing? And also because the Trump himself was like, we're going for US born, homegrown criminals next. It didn't take any imagination to go, oh, this isn't just about rights for undocumented immigrants. This is an assault on all of us. He wants to be able to send anybody he wants and disappear into this dungeon. And, I think that really made it easier for Democrats to make the case that this matters for everyone. And, the tariff stuff politically is obviously extremely toxic and is also something that everyone is aware of their own material circumstances and the way they're being negatively impacted. So I think they were able to push the message about Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the assault on rights and the way that the implications this has for the broader immigration agenda. Well, obviously the tariff stuff is there and is not going away anytime soon. But we can agree to disagree on that one if you'd like. We'll come back to it, I'm sure, another day.
Oh yeah, there'll be plenty to talk about.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.